Hey there, Wendy here with Jazzydoodledesigns, and today we're going to be taking a look at these Languo acrylic painting gel pens. Now, these are the plus markers. These are the 1mm markers. Now, I got these as a birthday gift from my bestie Christine because she is the greatest and she loves me. I have no idea why, but she does. She's just crazy that way. But she sent these to me and I love them. I have been so impressed with them. So I want to take a minute and kind of review these with you. Okay. If you turn the box over, you have a nice breakdown of all the colors that you're going to get. It just says all this, right? Cap your lids, blah, blah, blah. So let's take a look. Now I'm going to set these out. There's 5 trays, so there's 90 markers total. I already put these in my color family order. They've been swatched. They've been numbered because of course they have. This is what I do, right? Now obviously these are out of order in terms of the trays because I just used them last night. So here are all the colors. Aren't they beautiful? Aren't they though? So before we get into all of the colors, I want to talk about the packaging, okay? This box is sturdy, right? It's a nice sturdy box. And then it has a simple slide, right? So they're really easy. They don't take up a lot of room. You can stack them. I really like this packaging. The inside packaging is where the gold is, though, guys. Look at these trays. They're not flimsy, okay? I mean, I can twist them a little bit, but they're not floppy at all. They give a little bit here. They bend a little bit if you just hold them. But for the most part, look at that. They're pretty much standing on their own. But watch this. Ta-da! I mean, it doesn't even fall out. How many times have you pulled a tray up and had all your pens go everywhere? Yeah, that's why I put them in cases. I don't know that I'll put these in a case simply because the packaging is so good. All right, let me turn these right side up so it's not making you guys crazy. Now, the one thing I will say is you can't just grab them from the middle and pull them out. You have to grab from an end and pull them out. Now, you can pull them down from the top and pop them out. You can fling them at your friends across the room. Just kidding. So you can pull down and then pop them out. I find if they bend just a little bit here on the edge, I find that the easiest way to get the pen that I want. And then I just simply leave it out until I'm done with it, and then I put them all away. And of course that's easy because I have my numbering system. What? You've never seen my numbering system? Go to my oldest video. It explains everything. And don't judge me because it was my first video ever. But it keeps me sane. So, we've talked about the trays and how much I love them. Okay, let's take a look at the pen itself. It is, for all of you that use the Easy Breezy system, it's 14 centimeters. For those of us in the United States, it's 5.5 inches long. Okay, the barrel itself is, I would say, pretty similar to a Posca, ever so slightly smaller than a Posca, but it has that same feel, right? Now, if I had calipers, we could do that technical thing, but here we're just all about the vibes, right? Just vibes. They're very smooth in the hand. On this end, we have the number. So it says BG709, right? So it's telling me blue, green, color family, and then 709. Now, the lids go on and off relatively easy. You do have to pull a little bit, and you do have to push a little bit, but it ensures that they go on tight. Now, the one thing is I did catch myself twice when coloring that I had put the lid on like that, and did you hear? It didn't snap. So you have to make sure you get the snap, okay? So I will say you have to be cautious of that. But y'all know I'm an idiot, so it could have been just operator error, but it is something to be aware of. Now, as far as the lids themselves, they do have a little dilly-mabobber here that keeps it from rolling, keeps your pen from rolling off the table, which is kind of nice. They do have the color on the end. I will say it is not, it does match this color well, so you can match them up, but it doesn't have the number on the lid. But they do park, which I do like because then I don't have to figure out which one goes where. Okay, as far as the nib, it looks very much like a ballpoint pen. I don't know if you can, if that helps, right? But it's kind of like a ballpoint pen. But let's grab a piece of this paper. Look how smooth. And then look how easy that is to color. And the coverage. Now, I don't know if you can tell. Can you see the shine? I'm sure you can if I get it in the light just right. It will smear. These, because they do flow so freely and you get good coverage, it takes a second for this to dry. So we're going to take a look at that in just a second and see how long it really takes. Because at this point, I can smudge it, right? So you have to be aware of that. So when you're coloring a page, what I do is I color over here, up at the top here, and then I turn my page and I color something over here, and then I turn my page and color something over here, and then I go back to it, right? Because as you can see, still a little shiny, okay? So this is a positive thing and a negative thing. The positive thing is if I want to take another color, right, and bring it in here, and maybe use a brush, we can do a little blending, right? Do you see how I can kind of blend that? Now, obviously, that's a bad blending job, and I would want to do a better job, but you can use the longevity of the dry time to your advantage, but it can also be a disadvantage if you're impatient like me and don't pay attention like me, and you can end up smudging like me. Okay, so whether you consider that or a pro or con is up to you. But at this point, still ever so slightly smudgy, but it's almost dry at this point, okay? Next up, I want to look at our palette, right? Because this is what we love about having 90 colors, right? Is all the beautiful colors. And I will say, I think that this has a really good palette. There's a lot of lights and lighter colors, right? But we also have some really dark darks, and I appreciate that. I hate when everything is that mid-level brightness, right? Like this one. If everything's the same intensity, I want a light and I want a dark, and then I can blend them out. And I feel like this palette is actually pretty good at stair-stepping, right? The different color palettes. I will say I was a little disappointed in the blues, okay? Because these two colors are way too similar, all right? This color is not much, I mean, it's definitely different, but it isn't far off. And then we get a wild jump between these two. And then once again, this one definitely is a more vibrant, this is more muted, but they're essentially the same value of color there. So, and then we have this random periwinkle that doesn't really go with anything else on the page. It's a lovely color. You could put it with this color very easily. You could maybe put it with, I guess this color, but I mean, it's just kind of hanging out there by itself, right? As far as the greens, I think the greens are lovely. I really love these olivey greens. I like the more traditional greens, and I wish that we had I don't know. I actually really like the greens, so no complaints there. As far as browns, they're decent. I'm not a huge fan of this mini. Like, I feel like these three colors are very similar, though they do stair step a little bit, so that's nice. I think these could definitely be used as some good skin tones, all of these, right? So that is nice. You do have a nice stair step of grays, though we don't have any warm grays. We just simply have the cool grays. I guess you could consider this maybe a warm gray, but there's nothing that goes with it, right? These are all just kind of random neutrals together. And then, of course, the 5 bright neons, which can add a little pop of color to your pages. I don't find myself reaching for these very much, and so my preference would have been some more blues. But look at the teals. The blue-greens are chef's kiss. Absolutely love them. Okay, have I blathered on enough about color? Because we all have our own favorites, but those are my opinions on the color palette. Overall, I would definitely, I'd give it like an A-, B+ range for the color palette for me, okay? Okay, we're going to pause for a word from our sponsor. And as you know, the sponsor on my channel is me. I created this. This is in the Ko-fi shop. Let me get it off of my key ring here. But what this is this is a swatch chart. So you're going to get a blank one of these, and it's going to be laid out uncolored like this, okay? And you will color these all in, cut them out, cut a straight line, you know, so cut the 5 strips out, and then punch a hole in them. And then what you do is, you know, you have your swatch chart along with, if you cut the top of the label out and put a hole in it, these go together, and now you know what these markers are. I plan on making these for all of my acrylic markers. And why, do you say? Oh, well, first, back to our sponsor. If you go to the description box, there's a link to my Ko-fi shop. I will link this product directly. From there, you can shop a lot of different actual swatch charts. So this swatch chart will be up uncolored on there, along with, I don't know how many things I have on there, quite a few. Colored pencils, markers, Pit pens, Neocolor 2s, all of the things, right? And so I have the various swatch charts. Everything on my Ko-fi is free, with the exception of my artist prompt pack, right? The prompt cards that I did. I am charging $5 for those because I put an immense amount of time into that. Everything else is free or enabled pay what you want. So this is a nice way if you want to support your sponsor. You can, you know, pay for a coffee for me or whatever. Everything goes back into the channel so that I can purchase more things to make you new swatch charts and to show you products like this and allow you to look at them and see if they're the products that you want. Okay, back to our review. Oh, so the last thing I want to say about this is, why would you want it in this form? Well, let's talk about that. Okay, one of the ways that I use pens like these is in color by number books. So I just colored one using these pens and using the Gawanga, I don't know, those acrylic markers, okay? So I will say all of this, though, the small bits was done with the Languo, because they're perfect for the small bits, right? And then these larger areas were done with the those markers, right? Because like the black line was done with the Languo, and I haven't completely finished this. I need to touch up some of my lines. I need to go over some of these things again, but I really, really enjoy using these pens. Okay, so let's talk about why, how I would use this specifically. So let's say I'm trying to figure out which pen I want to use, and so we'll go with this bright yellow. I can put my little hole over it and say, do I like this one or this one better? Or this one? Nope, that's too green. Do I like that one or that one? And I can go back and forth and choose the marker that I want, right? Do you want me to zoom in a little bit more for you? Okay. Get you zoomed in. Let's see if I can move the book. Okay. This is especially tricky when you're doing things like browns, right? So let's take a look at our browns. So I can say, yeah, that's pretty good. That's a little light. That's way too light. But this one's pretty good, right? So I find this to be helpful. I can say, do I like this brown or this one or this one? Or maybe I go, you know, none of those are really doing it for me. Maybe I should look at another set of pens, because there's nothing to say that you have to just use one set of pens. But I find this to be very helpful when I'm trying to figure out which color I want to use, right? Because you can see how well it matches up easily. Okay, so look for that on the Ko-fi. Now, I want to color this page using nothing but the Languo pens. Okay, and I want to show you how I blend with them. Okay, first off, I like to blend or apply in little tiny up and down, almost circular motions. And then I put the two colors side by side and I use a damp brush. Now, what I do is I dip it in the water and then I touch it to a paper towel. And then I use it that way. You don't want a lot of water because we're not trying to dilute the paint. We are just trying to give a little nudge to the two paints to go together, right? So you can do this much like you would colored pencil, where you add your dark or like Inktense when you go in with your different colors, right? And then after you dampen your brush, you just want to pull from your lightest generally into the darkest. Because if you go from dark to light, the dark is going to overpower all the other color. Now, that being said, there are times in this video where I felt like I needed to bring that dark a little more into the color, and so I go from dark to light. There's times when you can do it all without washing your brush, and other times when you're going to pick up so much paint that you're going to need to clean your brush to continue to blend. Now, like most paintings, we're going to go through kind of this basing, right? So I'm going to go in. This layer is just simply to add my base colors to the page, get some color on there. What's really nice about acrylic is that if you get this all down and you're like, oh, I don't like the brown of her house, you can go back in with blue acrylic paint or marker and cover it all up. That is one of my favorite things because it's almost foolproof, right? And now the one thing I will caution you is figure out if you want to cover all of your lines or not, okay? Because these markers are pretty opaque and you can see where, like, look at the trees. There are no black lines on those trees. But sometimes when you take all the black lines away from, say, your mice, they just don't look defined enough and they look a little odd. And so you just need to decide before you put your marker down which way you're going to go. Now, like for example, on that rose, it's such a small area that I went ahead and went over it, and you can see it really dulled those lines. I can go back in with a black acrylic pen and re-add those lines. Okay? So I hope that you can see this. Feel free to mute me, like watch this segment with me talking so that you hear what I say, and then go back, mute me, and slow this down to like even a quarter speed, and it will put you closer to real time. This is at 15 times speed because this is not about being a color along, right? I'm just trying to show you that you can color an entire page with your markers. Generally, if I was doing this not for this purpose, I might have used more of the acrylic, like those, the guana, or however you say it. I might have used those for some of the bigger areas and then went in with these pens. But it's certainly doable. I tried to pick an image that didn't have large spaces. Okay, so if you're trying to blend, you want to do it when it's wet. If you're trying to add detail, you need to make sure your first layer is completely dry. So at this point, I let everything dry, and you can see me changing the page because sometimes I want to work on a different area so I don't smudge. I hope you found this helpful. Just for a little visual interest, I decided to add some little dots here in the lower landscape just to depict some flowers. So while I generally use these pens just for details, you can see you can color an entire image with it. Okay, the last thing that I want to talk about is the price. I found these on Amazon. Now, I know Christine lives in Canada, and so I'm pretty sure she got them from Amazon Canada, but I won't swear to it. But I did not see them on like Blick, okay, or like Jerry's Artorama or something like that. But I believe they're on Temu. I would assume a lot of those kind of places have these. Now, these are different than a lot of the Languo pens in the sense that these are the 1mm, and the other ones that I have are like a 0.5 or a 0.6, I can't remember, but they're a much thinner nib and they don't lay down color like this. Don't get me wrong, they're fantastic, but those I would only use for detailing. These, with the right pictures, I think they're great. Now, like in the big Disney page, I wouldn't necessarily pick these for the sky. You could do it. You just have to be a little more tedious about it, whereas the brush acrylic markers really are a little better suited for those kind of images. But with the details, fantastic. And you saw on Matchstick Mouse where you can color those larger areas and use your paintbrush to just smooth things over a little bit. So you notice that like on her white apron, I used a brush even though I wasn't blending any other color because I was just smoothing the white out to where I didn't see the brush strokes as much. Okay, so that's it for availability. I apologize, but I didn't spend hours looking because it's hard for me to tell what's available for every other country, right? I would say just look for the box with the Loop-D colors. Now, these do come in 36, 54, 72, and 90 colors, okay? And as of today, which is January, which is October 11th, right, 2025, these are running about $57 with a 10% off coupon, which would bring that down to, let me do the math, what is that, just like $50 then? But anyway, you know, it makes them less than 60 cents a marker. Now, as far as open stock, I don't think there is any open stock, which honestly is probably the biggest negative for me because I would buy the white and the black. I very much enjoyed using both of those. I felt like they covered really well. The opacity for some of these colors is incredible and one pass does it. Other colors you will need a second coat, but overall I'm very pleased with the opacity on these. So I hope you found this review helpful. I encourage you to use what you have. This is not me trying to influence you to buy a product that maybe you're not going to need or use. But I will say, I love saying it, I guess, the Guana. I really like those acrylic markers. I like the Woomer acrylic markers. And I really have enjoyed these for the more detail. They are my favorite by far over Thule Art, over the other ones. Just simply, I like the ballpoint pen and I like, because it's different than the Thule Art, the plastic nib. I struggle with the plastic nibs. I have not had one of these clog on me, and I haven't had one of these be dry, and I haven't had them be scratchy. That being said, just got them a couple of weeks ago, right? So it's not like I have 100 hours into these pens. So take that with a grain of salt. I hope this video helps you choose the medium that works best for you. And until next time, happy coloring. Thank you for watching another video from Jazzydoodledesigns. If you'd like even more Jazzydoodle and a little more snark, please check out the membership below. If you're looking for a community where you can share your work and chat with other fellow colorists in a safe and welcoming environment, hit the subscribe button to Jazzydoodledesigns and then look for Jazzydoodledesigns Coloring Community on Facebook. And there you can join a group of fellow colorists to talk all things coloring and share cute pet pictures. I hope to see you there. And until next time, happy coloring.